Most people think testosterone optimization is about gimmicks, magic supplements, and weird superfoods. But what if the real key has nothing to do with all of that? In this video, I'll show you how your thyroid, the master regulator of your metabolism, could be the hidden switch for fixing low testosterone based on the forgotten research by Ray Peat. So let's get into it. Most people have an understanding when it comes to testosterone optimization, and it's really based off of simple things like using certain supplements or gimmicks or so on and so forth. But with those things, a lot of people don't get results, and some people get a bad reaction to those gimmicks and things like that, that they may feel worse because the testosterone gets converted into estrogen and things like that. But one thing many people overlook when it comes to proper testosterone optimization is like basic things like how testosterone and thyroid are connected. So as you can see here, just from the basic hormonal synthesis, your body needs cholesterol, vitamin A from retinol like liver, and active thyroid to produce pregnenolone. And for pregnenolone, you produce all the downstream hormones, DHEA, testosterone, and this part here, the testosterone estrogen part, is over here, right? And different pathways create a different characteristics on your physical and psychological way. As you can see here, so oxygen, glucose, T3, and so on and so forth. But most people only look at the part of testosterone where it's your pituitary signals the testicles, then the testicles through LH, through the Leydig cells produce testosterone, then testosterone through SHBG produce free testosterone, and then from free testosterone produce DHT or estrogen. But one thing, which is thyroid, which goes even before GnRH, which stimulates the whole production of protective hormones, is TSH. So the hypothalamus, when it knows it's to do so, through T or H, stimulates the anterior pituitary. Then that stimulates TSH to signal the thyroid gland to produce T4 and T3. T4 is inactive and T3 is active thyroid. That goes into the liver, and based off of the conditions, the T4 gets converted either to T3, which is active thyroid, or reverse T3. When the T4 gets converted to T3, this starts happening, and then you have the production of protective hormones. But if the other happens through your liver, reverse T3, which stimulates estrogen production, which converts your testosterone into more estrogen. Also, higher estrogen produces more SHBG in the liver to bind up testosterone, so your SHBG is higher. So the liver is very foundational when it comes to your proper thyroid function and proper testosterone function. This is why things like keto or fasting don't really make sense, because the liver needs carbohydrates, glucose, to convert T4 into T3. And then from T3, you start producing all the protective hormones. And then without glucose, or when you're fasting or malnutrition, you produce reverse T3, which then starts the cascade of stress hormones and things like that. So if you're using all these gimmicks, these supplements, this, that, and the other, and you don't have the basics taken care of, you can do all those things. But if your nutrition, your micronutrients, training, lifestyle, supplementation isn't properly targeted to optimize thyroid, which is the foundation to then produce protective hormones, all these gimmicks, all these things won't work. Recently, I was talking to an individual who was mostly doing all these things, these supplements, and you were seeing this part of the spectrum, fat gain, psychological issues, things like that. And then when you introduced protective things like calcium, also in other cases aspirin, they see, oh, but I start seeing problematic issues. The reason why is because a lot of the things that they're experiencing are driven by stress hormones. And when they introduce a protective variable into their life, it slows that stress response, and they kind of feel neutral, may feel worse initially, but because they're going to the other side of the spectrum. Because things like sex drive, your bowel movements, your energy can be driven from stress or protective hormones. They might seem familiar on the outside, but fundamentally it looks completely different. And with understanding this allows for proper measurement. So what gets measured gets accomplished. And this is based off of getting results myself and clients. And it's just the basic thing of measure your morning temperature and pulse. They are your real markers of thyroid and metabolic health. So if you regularly look at the different reactions your temperature and heart rate has, because at peak energy produces heat. So by tracking this, you can tell if your thyroid hormones are high or low, and this will tell you a lot about your testosterone function and things like that. So looking at things like what's your temperature and heart rate when you wake up, what it's like after breakfast, what's the pattern throughout the day. When you're starting out, having an idea where all this goes will give you clarity of where you are. And as you get more experience, you will need it less and less. So starting with this, checking your temperature, heart rate, and looking at the pattern will be a great benefit to seeing what works and doesn't. So yeah, that being said, this was the explanation of the connection between testosterone and thyroid. So that being said, peace.